And welcome back to the Constitution Line by Line. I'm Paul Fabrizio.
And I'm Don Frazier.
And we're still going at it as we work our way through Article 1, Section 8, the enumerated powers of the United States Constitution.
Oh, well, Congress. In the Constitution.
In the Constitution, the enumerated powers of Congress. And so, are we ready for the next one?
Next line.
Congress shall have the power to establish, here we go, it's a continuation of the previous one about naturalization. This one says uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States.
What constitutes bankruptcy? Bankruptcy is very important.
Okay.
Because
tell me why. And I can figure out why.
Well, again, this is, if you view the Constitution as an economic document,
as
well as a political document.
Wait. The Constitution's an economic document.
There's a lot of economics built in there.
Yeah, look at what we've done in this thing. Here we've gone through, we're on the 5th clause of the Constitution's enumerated powers, and 4 of them have dealt with economics.
And, yeah, now number 5 does too.
So,
bankruptcy is important because you are free to fail.
Mm-hmm.
In the United States. In the old days, if you went into debt, you would get to go to the pokey, and your family would have to pay off that debt.
Debtor's prison.
That's exactly right. And so bankruptcy is a concept that is carried into the American mix, and people believe strongly in bankruptcy, the ability to fail, and then start over and try again. But they wanted to make sure that bankruptcy laws were fairly uniformly applied.
Right.
And that's the key here, because if there are not bankruptcy protections in one state and there are in the other, that's going to cause for a major imbalance and the potential for a serious miscarriage of justice. And then how do you have ununiform bankruptcy laws but still have a Congress that regulates interstate commerce? So you have to have this.
It all ties in then with the regulation of commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all cogs in the same machine.
Yeah, what's interesting, and this is just an aside, is the bankruptcy is in the same sentence as the naturalization.
Yeah.
Not in the same sentence as regulating commerce. So it's just a strange sort of thing. Why do they do that? I have no idea.
Well, I think it may have to do with motivations for immigrating to the United States.
Oh, you think people would escape bankruptcy issues in other countries?
Yeah,
because I'm going to the United States.
Yeah, I'm skipping debt. And then when you get to the United States, it doesn't really have a back fence.
That's true.
And so you could just keep going west, which means you could skip debts in Virginia and end up in some place like Illinois or Northwest Territory at the time, and try to lay low, and maybe it'll all blow over. I mean, I teach a lot of Texas history.
Are you saying that people did that?
I'm telling you that there's people that splashed across the Sabine River into Texas because they were dodging creditors. And so in that case, they were moving into a whole different country.
So the people we hold up as these great pioneers actually were...
Sometimes they were economically disadvantaged, and they were trying to dodge creditors.
And they failed to pay their debts.
The idea behind bankruptcy is that you can actually face your creditors,
right,
with some protections, and those protections need to be equal protections, no matter what state you're in.
Right. And so as a consequence, when you go into bankruptcy in the United States, it's covered under federal law, and you go to federal district court.
Correct, and that means if you're an immigrant from France and you start with nothing and you build it into something, and then an economic crisis comes along and you're back to nothing, that you have those protections as well, no matter where you are, in Charleston or in the wilderness of Mississippi Territory.
Yeah. So the government, by regulating bankruptcy, provides protection for those who are bankrupt, as well as the creditors themselves.
Correct. So everybody's covered on this, and we're going to have grown-up conversations between the creditors who extended the opportunity to you, hoping for a return on their largesse,
Right.
and the people that just didn't make it happen. One historian I was talking to a while back said, 90% of history is about things that just don't quite work out.
Okay.
You think about it. We read a lot about the winners and stuff, but for every time an American pilot lands his P-51 on the tarmac at an airbase, there's all these little swastikas next to his cockpit. Didn't work out so well for those guys. So we're lauding the American pilot, but, there's several German pilots that went down in flames. And that's that sort of example writ large is what we're talking about here.
And by having uniform rules of bankruptcy, what we do then is, if you're going to escape debt by moving further west,
correct,
as the United States takes over more and more territory, the laws go with that extension of territory.
correct.
So
There's not going to be a
catch
debtor.
up to you.
Yeah, we're going to catch up with you, and there's not going to be a free state of, get out of jail free.
Right.
So this encourages Americans to turn and face their creditors.
Yeah. Very clever.
Very clever.
Those framers. Wow. All right. I don't know what else to say about
Well,
this.
that's our line.
Yeah. There you go. We'll
And
be back.
Yeah, we'll pick up the next enumerated power in the next episode.